mine too. So welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. 'Cause these are my people. And this is my land. This is my land. This is what we pray for. And this is God's plan. This is God's plan. If you ain't from here, you won't understand. You won't understand. This is my country. This is who I am. This is who I am. So welcome to my house.
Hey everybody, Kevin Hoy with the Grassroots Warrior Network, back with JT and Wes to talk about, what'd you just say, JT? Nothing going on in Minnesota?
Nothing happening here.
You move along, nothing to see here. Wes,
Yep.
how you doing today?
Return to your homes. All is well.
I heard they were after you, Wes. Like you were worried they were gonna fire you or get to. Is that true? Like, what
Your
have you been-
domiciles are waiting for you. Everyone just go home and pay no attention to that man behind the mirror. Jason worked it out last week. He said that this whole thing is designed to bring attention on Minnesota because this is the beachhead for the globalist invasion. And I thought that was, I was like, took me a day to digest that.
Yeah.
And then I thought, wow, there's really something to that. Yeah, bring Tim Walz as the VP pick. And all of a sudden we're reliving shit that happened over the last 30 years in this state. And
Wow.
everybody's got like flash memories of what the
Yeah.
DFL did to us in short order. Yeah.
No, I think that's optics, Wes. I said the same thing. We've been doing this for years, and finally smart people like JT are catching on. But they've been highlighting, even, VP Vance. I didn't know that guy. I didn't know anything about it until he was VP, and then I looked and went, oh my God, right? Or it's Fauci under this arm, Dr. Burke's under this arm, right? Hollywood breaks, and I see Johnny Depp right now all over the news again. Johnny Depp, well, I think they're showing us things, right? Drew Barrymore
showing
gets
us
her own
things.
show. Tom
They're
Hanks.
showing us some Hollywood B movies and helping us get ready for what they're going to do to us next.
Yeah.
They have to announce it, show it, and proclaim it, and then they can roll it out, maybe.
Now, are you talking about the Satanists? Because that's part of their religion too, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the Hollywood aspect of it, there's some Johnny Depp material that's really weird. And, one of the films he did with Orson Welles, one of Orson Welles' last films was a Johnny Depp movie that was very strange about a Latino immigrant to the United States who, you know what? I don't even want to try to go into it. We could just post a link to it. It's a very strange movie. It was considered an art film at the time, but Johnny Depp's character is basically paid a lot of money to allow himself to be tortured and murdered by this weirdo. So Johnny Depp's character's family, this Latino family, receives a big amount of money. I think it's like $10,000, but Johnny Depp's character has to turn his life over to this weirdo, and then he does whatever he wants to with him. So it's all about human trafficking and Latinos being caught up with wealthy people, north of the border, who do whatever they want to with their souls and their minds and their bodies and so forth. So we're kind of seeing that play out in Minnesota now too, with big influxes of Latinos who can't defend themselves and can't speak English. And I do business with them all the time, and I'm helping them all the time. But I feel there's this sense that they're being taken advantage of, and that they don't know what they've gotten themselves into by this kind of Faustian devil's bargain with the powerful El Norte,
Yeah. Well, I think there's something, again, we all complain about the borders and we're worried about housing and jobs and all this other stuff. You should be worried about their kids, because that's, I think, what it's really about. And there's a connection, by the way. Again, Johnny Depp back to Martin, right?
Yep.
Martin Rothblatt. Again, that's again, we're going to talk about Martin a little bit tonight. This is the The world's richest female CEO lives right here in Burlington, Vermont, but it's not really a female.
Hey, is she a boxer? Is she a
He's a
boxer?
well, is he a boxer? Why'd you ask that? What am I missing?
Well, because of the two male boxers won the Olympics and the
Oh,
female.
gotcha. Well, that's just like this. This is Martine Rothblatt. Martin is he lived the first half of his life as a man. It's not the richest female CEO. It's just another rich cabal white guy, right? And again, transhumanism, transgender, United Nations, the Mayo Clinic. That's our connection all the way up through. But United Therapeutics, which I believe is organ harvesting, adrenochrome harvesting facility. It sounds so crazy to say these things out loud, right? But if you look at that website, United Therapeutics, it doesn't look like a professional therapeutics company. It looks really weird, from the blood font to the one eye frazzle drip, Yankee Doodle feather. There's so much symbolic, and again, direct links to the Unitarianism. What's it called? Is that right, Jason?
Unitarianism,
Right, back to those churches.
Transhumanism,
Unitarian Universalist Church.
Well, if you
Parasam,
it's weird. It's a
Parasam.
weird site for therapeutics, but if you look into it and who designed that site for Martin, it's the same guy that produced Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, Johnny Depp movie.
Wow.
Adrenochrome reference. Same exact dude. So there's the connection between Martin and Johnny Depp. I mean,
and
it's
Johnny.
Hollywood.
And don't forget Mayor Norton too, because Mayor Norton has the Unitarian Universalist Church background with all of her Democrat friends and others that operate there.
It's absolutely insane.
Ask Jason to tell you about the Owls curriculum sometime out of
We've been through it. Jason he's a master. We put all this out in front of our audience, but you know what? Hang on your seat, guys. We're going for a screen share. Quick one, because we can tell them again. I don't mind telling them again. We have a tendency to repeat ourselves. And I don't know what I'm opening up right here, just to be fair. JT sent me a bunch of crap. I haven't even looked at it. We're opening it together for the first time. So JT, you're going to have to explain yourself. Real Raw News. White Hat Council member expelled for supporting Harris. What is this about, buddy? Suicide but fails. Gitmo. Jag and Tim Walls. I heard that too. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think somebody sent me this. I was going to delete that, but I think this is talking about him having the Jag after him.
Yeah, well, that's this one. Jag indicts Tim Walls. I can click on it, see if it tells us anything else. We've heard.
But I look. It's Real Raw News, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right. Well, and this is something, another thing that you sent me. I'll go out of screen share for a second. Another thing that you sent me was a video regarding a bill that Tim Walz had passed. That again, anybody that didn't know, it's against the law to be discriminatory towards pedophilias in Minnesota. Tim Walz wrote that bill. They snuck it in. Mainstream media gave it zero airtime, 0 seconds. They never told us about it. But again, this is Kamala's pick. So now people are looking. Boom, we find a bunch of stuff just like we did with Vance. What do you think? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I think so, because there's some papers that go back to like North Dakota, and he's heavy on the China. So George Floyd,
right?
Counterfeit Chinese $20 bills. I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me go back.
Antifa. We just had Keith Ellison down here. Wes,
Yeah.
Can you explain a little more about the hate crime that occurred in Rochester recently? And
there's so much hate.
Amazingly, we had the NAACP here and Keith Ellison here.
Wow.
Keith Ellison?
Yeah.
Oh, that was Keith Ellison last game with Bernie Sanders.
No. I'm just talking about from Kim Hicks.
Oh, so there's a big story out of Rochester. It's the most latest example of a hate crime that we've got in Rochester. There were apparently Did we talk about the N word on the bridge last time?
Right, they
A little
wrote it.
bit. So
Yeah.
maybe we talked about the other one. So this one is a case of this representative Kim Hicks' house being vandalized, and she is got a number of different stories. One story she says is that her first story was that because her husband is black, people were drawing half swastikas and swastikas on a shed and then also on their house. But then on a window, okay, get this. The vandals, oh, where do I begin?
I already know this. This is the same story. We had it in Vermont. Kaya Morris,
Oh,
representative. I think
are
they
they
paid it
taking it?
themselves.
So it's national news now?
Well, no,
That's,
it's the same story. It's a similar story. I haven't heard this one, but we've heard the
oh,
same thing
okay.
in Vermont.
So
That's
they played it like this. So all the news media has run with it, and everyone's assuming the worst.
it's true.
I went down to the police department on Monday morning this week. This is 3 days ago, and I requested the full police report for what actually occurred. And the police, at the end of the day, they wouldn't reply, and they were asking me. They didn't know what I was looking for, and I replied, "You've got to be kidding! This is all over the news. Don't ask me to explain what you guys
Right.
revealed to the press and everything. They're asking
I
me to
used to
tell
think,
them what."
right, I used to think they were playing dumb. I don't think they're
Yeah, they're
playing
playing. The
anymore.
police are playing. Well, it's not hard for the police to play dumb anymore in Rochester. But they
Yeah,
go, "You need to tell us what more about what you're looking for." I said, "No, I don't. I've told you what I'm looking for, and furthermore, the clock is ticking. You've got a set amount of days before this goes to court. I'm just done waiting. You know, it's a FOIA request. It's a data practices request.
yeah.
So the information they gave to me the very next day was like a standard one paragraph press release, and I posted it online, and I said, well, the Rochester Police Department doesn't know anything. But that didn't stop the local NAACP
There we go.
from fundraising and all the DFL, and they use the DFL headquarters to make announcements about hate and hate speech. Well, the last one
Go
was a
ahead.
bunch of BIPOC. Yeah, children did it. The last one, children did. But this new one is that all of Rochester is tainted. Of course, that means white people. But,
This is
all of Rochester is tainted as having involvement. We're all transacting in racism. But
I'm
then
over here jumping.
yeah. First,
I'm
she knew that her attackers' motives, like the vandals' motives, were to attack her husband because he's black. And then it changed from racism as a motive to they did it because, and the press followed along. The vandals did this because of the Harris signs in Kim Hicks' front yard. So then it switched to political, because I'd been saying, well, the FBI needs to be involved. If this is a hate crime with a swastika,
right.
that you need to call in the FBI. And I was tagging the FBI in my posts. I tagged the local FBI, and I tagged Sheriff Torgerson's office, and I tagged the Rochester Police Department, as well as the Minneapolis FBI.
I can
And
tell
then
you
anyway,
what's coming next, Wes, is the again, the anti-Semitism is going to join that. It's the same thing we had here. A representative named Kaya Morris came from Chicago to Vermont on an Obama express pass, brought BLM, gun control, all that with
right.
it. She had, I forgot the number, people can check me and I'm sure they will. I think it was 47 complaints of racial hate. This is Vermont state. And why it worked. I mean, I'm going to I'll speak up for everybody. And I think Vermont is one of the least racist states in the nation. And we are so against this as a people. We believed Kaya And again, we were just so like, no, not in our state. And they stood up for that woman. So a bunch of good people. But what we found out is there was a bunch of lies. Nothing really happened. I did what you did. I dug into it, and there was never any evidence of anything. In fact, the attorney general came out at the end and said it was a perceived fear. It wasn't real. It was all in her head. But yeah, we passed laws over this. And again, she went on. She retired because of extreme racism. She never retired. We got a note from the clerk of parliament. She just quit. She kept all her benefits, and then she was promoted and put on the governor's special governor's council committee, right? That's when my governor came out and called all Vermonters, every one of us, irredeemably racist. And
Wow.
I was very offended by that because that's not the Vermont I know. So again, this is George Soros again, right? Color wars. That's what we're talking about. It's more hate and division when none of this was real. One of the things I thought was really funny, like you're talking about, it doesn't make sense. Kaya had a home invasion where somebody broke into their home, right, and stole 100 neckties and spread them all over a cemetery across the street. First of all, who the hell owns 100 neckties? I guess Kaya's husband does, but when they were breaking into the home, I don't know how they got past security system and the locks, and there's no force entry or the giant black German Shepherd that they have. And when they got in there, they skipped the jewelry and the money to steal neckties. Does this make any? This doesn't even make sense, right? And of course, there's never anybody. They did use kids, just like you were saying. Some youth got involved for knocking on doors and running, and right. And I don't know how much was
Yeah.
real, not real, but they made a circus. She went on tour, Saturday Night Live. She went on world tour, telling everybody how racist Vermont was. And again, I was deeply offended by that because I don't believe her. I think she's lying.
It just is pulling a Jussie Smollett on a bunch of nice people from straight out of Chicago, straight out of, what is. And the thing about also with using children, no, I shouldn't say anything about Kim Hicks uh family life, or the now that would be wrong, or her husband's work with lots of different children, but there seems to be issues. There's issues, and somehow Kim Hicks knows that she has a theory now that the Utes or whoever did it, they parked up north of a church away from her house, and then they walked down in the ditch between the highway and the houses to get to her house. So she's got it all mapped out. Like, she knows their motive, and then she changed their motive, and she knows what opportunity they had to do this. And then, by the way, how on earth did these people come in the middle of the night in the dark, and they knew where the cameras were placed? And there's
Right.
only 3 ways in and out of Representative Kim Hicks' neighborhood. They knew where the cameras were, and they spray painted them. They spray paint all except one, and that's how Kim Hicks knows that they were wearing uh
Mask.
they were wearing face masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's strange. It's all around doesn't make sense, but
Sounds like she's got everything except for the perpetrators because they're probably her friend. Was it her husband?
right. And I'm offering $1,000 again, just like I offered $1,000 reward for the word on the magic word on the bridge near Century High School. And that worked out. It turned out to be 4 children from a high school here in Rochester, three 16-year-olds and one 17-year-old. And I'm again offering a $1,000 reward for the positive identification of the individual or individuals who did this to Minnesota State Representative Kim Hicks. $1,000 cash money. Okay? Just saying.
Frogskins, American greenbacks. I love your shirt, by the way. Your
Dead
shirt's really
presidents
cool.
all the way. Yeah.
And let's hang on again. We're going back to screen share if I put my glasses on because I want to talk about Martin so bad, and I know JT had some stuff in there. He snuck it in. Hopefully this came up. What are we looking at now? This is, yes, the Mayo Clinic. That's kind of Martin. Martine sits on the board for the Mayo Clinic. So everybody out there, when you get a sniffle or a cold, you're Googling and getting advice from this transhumanist freak. Largest pig cloner in the world. Again, United Nations, WHO, WEF, you name it. So calling attention to changes in bike traffic, bike paths pedestrians are planned for downtown Rochester. It's part of the green energy lie, right, JT?
10-4?
$5 billion expansion. Wow.
Yeah.
So is that what you were showing me? The bike pass, the green energy stuff, or just another
Yeah.
5 billion
Yeah.
for damn?
Yeah, so We Bike Rochester, West. If you've seen their Facebook page, their photo on their Facebook page.
Not lately. What's up with that?
This one?
Well, the
No.
funny thing was, I was just wondering when they talked about those bike lanes. I was thinking to myself, just in my head, like, geez, I hope that they have transgender bike lanes, because it was about equity and stuff like that. And sure enough, you go to the We Bike Rochester, and their profile picture
Yep.
is the transgender flag. It's like,
I
what
had
does that
that.
what does that have to do with bicycling?
Right.
So
It's representation, brave and
Yeah.
stunning.
brave.
Well, and again, it's that constant programming. They try to sneak it in. It's almost subliminal unless you know what's going on, like JT. And we're talking about the rainbow flag with the multiple stripes, all inclusive. It's an everybody flag, including the P's. There's P all over your flag, Maddie, right? We got, again, a black stripe for the necrophilia, brown stripe for bestiality. Little boys, little girls get a blue and a pink stripe. We got a white stripe for virgins in the MAPS. That's a minor attracted person. Their commitment to not reoffend. And that is all over the Mayo Clinic. It's been there. Let's stay with the Mayo Clinic. What's this one? Mayo Clinic, collaborate on lung restoration center. Geez, that's Martine written all over it. What's this? Without me reading it all, JT, do you remember what this is?
I don't remember even sending you that, but that's just the collaborate. So they're opening up 400 acres, I think it is, on that other slide for collaborative resource. Well, they've been doing it for a long time. I think over 10 years. I'd have to go back and look, but the United Therapeutics is moving into Rochester, just like we talked about 2 years
Yep.
ago. But Jan Malcolm, I sent you that. I don't know if that's on there.
I don't know.
But
They're all out of order for sure. But
Yeah.
what we're talking about here is Martin. He wanted to supply the world with an endless supply of transplantable organs. That's terrifying to me, just that statement alone, right? And again, I think we get into some, illegal organ harvesting and a bunch of other things, but their plan and what they're telling the public is through cloning. She's the largest pig cloner in the world, and they're talking about cloning lungs for people. So this, again, Martin written all over it. I just saw Mayo Clinic, so I thought I'd click on it. Let's go back to, here we go, press release, United Therapeutics. How do we get rid of this? Decline cookies, please. United Therapeutics Corporation announces election of Jan Malcolm to its board of directors. Now, who's Jan? Boy,
She ran the COVID scam, bro.
Oh, that's who.
Yeah, in Minnesota.
I hate to look at people and be judgmental. That's a hell of a picture, man. It makes me think right away. I mean, I don't like your eyes, man. I don't know how so this is, again, she was in charge of your COVID scam, and now they're putting her in charge of all of our healthcare. That sounds like a good idea. The woman that ran the COVID scam for Minnesota is now in charge of your healthcare for Minnesota, right?
No, she's on the board of United Therapeutics now.
Right, that's what I mean. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Well, that was a Q post too, right? Who's on the board?
Yeah.
I think this is what we're talking about. So this is, again, one of Martin's best friend. Malcolm was twice Minnesota's commissioner of health. How do you guys feel in Rochester, the city you go to die? You guys feeling healthy? Right. So two political parties under 3 different governors. Gotcha. She ran the Codex scam. Martin, there he is. Martin Rothblatt, PhD, chairperson, chief executive officer for United Therapeutics. Lots of names in here. I love names, so I think we should call those people as a society. Let's go on to the next one. I see more lungs. That's what I'm saying. Look at that. Come on.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the background on her. I wonder the same fear and loathing Las Vegas. Looks like the same artist did the
Yeah.
artwork.
So that's the one that does all their art and other websites and stuff. Yeah. And
Right.
then,
So
it wasn't too long after we were talking about it, Kevin, they had their website looks a little cuter. It didn't look as frazzle drippish.
yeah, they had to do it. That's called right quality control. They have to do damage control after we out them. Look at like what is going on down here. Just the picture itself makes me
Yeah.
really look at this
And so
stuff.
like, so the one time we were talking, Kevin, you could go on the United Therapeutics website and there was a Unitarian login down in the
Right, you
corner.
could link right to the church, the owl school and the whole. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's still like that or no?
I haven't been on there for a while, but
Still looks as freakish as ever.
yeah.
Wow.
And so that ties, and again, we did a podcast on this already, but it ties to the DeMar Hamlin jacket and the Jesus with the paper mache Jesus or whatever, or you know what I'm talking about? Remember
I
that?
do. Yeah, I do remember.
So that's all connected. That's all tied together.
Yeah, so more of the same old exposure. We got one more Facebook post talking about their 14 billion, that's with a B, biotech firm behind the first pig to human heart transplant. Again, Martin's the largest pig cloner in the world. This is what they're claiming. I think there's a lot more there than they're telling us, but recently bought 45 acres of land to build this
45.
pig to human organ center in Stewartsville. So billion with a B. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You guys are, what's worse than, big pharma, it's big biopharma. Biopharmaceutical is the latest, greatest. And this goes back to, again, Chris Sununu, Governor Sununu in New Hampshire and the Sununu cartel. Again, beta technology, and it's another part of the green energy drones and how they're transporting all this crap around. I don't know if you knew this, Wes, but Martine, again, United Therapeutics, this blood company that we're talking about, she owns another company called Beta. And Beta it's a transportation company. So they're clear cutting all the tops of our mountains here. Again, New Hampshire is kind of the hub, but it goes all into all the states up into Canada. And it's for electric pilotless drones is what it is. So, and they're on tops, like the road to get up to this installation is $1 million road. It's cut off to the public. That interested me. So we hike up there. And even the workers that were working on these projects, there's no pictures, there's no video, don't look in any windows. Of course, that's the first thing the workers do when you tell them they can't do that. So we've got some incredible things. We've got, again, it's all green energy lies. So there's solar panels and all that, but there's giant diesel generators. We have underground facilities. And then what got really interesting is they plan on taking the road out when they're done. That $1 million was just to get up there and build it. So it's only going to be accessible by drones or helicopters. And that just sounds horrifying to me. So,
but it makes sense for their United Therapeutics model that uses helicopters to get
right.
around, and then they have that Academy of Achievement. What worries me about their slogan, persistence is omnipotent. It's kind of godlike. They set themselves up to be, real.
It's worse. Have you heard of Life Knot? She has
Life
a
Knot.
company
Right, they're
called
like God, and then you create life in the form of robotics. Martine Goldblatt. Wait a minute, I'm getting the gold.
Martin.
Rothblatt.
Martin. You just call him Martin.
Martin ends up making this robotics institute. So they turn, her black lover becomes a black robot that she can have relationships, like sex with and whatnot. It's a robot,
right?
But she makes a
your wife.
So it's a transgender dude. It's a chick with a dick who makes a black woman into a robot, and you find that it's even on CBS News for the normies who might find it hard to take in the conspiracy channel stuff. Just go look it up on Wired or CBS News. Martine Goldblatt's lover is a robot, and that's
Right.
the transhumanist that you got working at Mayo. So when you talk about taking everybody's identity and uploading it into like an internet link or something, you plug somebody in. These transhumanists think that they're going to attain immortality at the Mayo Clinic. Godless, and it's soulless, and we all have an end time, and there's gonna be an end, and it doesn't matter how many Netflix movies have programmed you to believe that you can attain immortality. You just can't. And her love life is even on, it's on the Washington Post, it's on the New York Times, it's all of these different places saying, look, you can attain this too. You can have immortality. Just uplink your identity, I suppose, and you can become a talking head. And that's what she's creating in this girlfriend. Look at the Vermont Daily Chronicle, because you've got it in the Vermont Daily Chronicle right in your home state.
Yeah.
Vermont Daily Chronicle. Transgender transhumanist created android copy of wife. Vermont Daily Chronicle, and they've got a number of pictures of Martine Goldblatt's baby girl.
Right, Rothblatt. No, this is the same thing. It's funny, but Vermont Daily Chronicles is one of the better papers here. They're a conservative paper, and they cover all this stuff usually 2 or 3 years after me and JT do. And it's after it breaks is the thing. These people get caught, something happens, and then it finally makes the media. They've known about that stuff for a long time. They're just giving it to you. But Beta Technology, again, it's an air transportation company, so it's at the Burlington Airport. Oh, sorry, the Patrick Leahy International Airport. We just renamed that after that pedophile, right? But so it's got FAA restrictions. It's kind of hard to get in there and sneak around and look. You can't see nothing. They also have diplomatic immunity, which is really interesting because they have no diplomats. But again, diplomatic packages don't go through customs. They just go on through. We already know she works in blood therapeutics. I think they actually have an underground, about 2 miles away from her base at the Burlington Airport is IBM, Bill Gates, another direct contact, direct link again. So 2 miles away. We know they're connected above ground by train. I believe they're connected underground as well. And I said for a long time, I think we have an underground adrenochrome harvesting and organ harvesting facility at IBM. And I think they take that, again, the goodies they get from that, and Martine flies them all over the world in their flightless drones. This whole thing came to be where we just had one of my fans who lives in Burlington, and he pulls in the Burlington airport every day, and he saw all these little white containers, like hundreds, and he didn't know what they were. So we tried to investigate and look into them, and at first they're like little one-person houses. Like there's a bed in there, and we were thinking kids in cages and the whole thing. When you really look into it, they're all super controlled for humidity and temperature. And again, when you're transporting organs and stuff, I think that's vital. I don't know what they're telling you is it's the future for executives. I can go rent one of these pods. It's my apartment. A drone picks me up and flies me wherever I need to be. And it's just convenient for you guys. But when we started looking into those little containers, if you will, is when we opened up the whole, like I never heard of Martin. Again, endorsed by the United Nations back in the 80s. This is about as cabal gets. In fact, when they renamed the Burlington International Airport, the Patrick Leahy Airport, Jill Biden, right? Dr. Jill, she's not a real doctor, but she plays one on TV. She came over to the airport to meet my governor. The governor took full advantage. Here's a press release. We had Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders and my governor and Martin and the whole big convention, right? But they were all, they were coming here to meet Martin is what that was about. And then in the pictures on the way out, is where we found our first transgender flag. I didn't know about the white V until that news, it broke here in Vermont State, and we looked at it and tried to exploit it to the best of our ability to warn you guys, everybody. That's our connection. Like I said, between Minnesota and Vermont, Martin in medical, the same with Sununu that I was talking about. They use Sheehan, right? And what they're doing is they're using the guise of medical to get away with all of this, crap. Martin Rothblatt is the inventor of satellite radio. She's also the inventor of the deep fake masks. She's also the inventor of the 5G facial recognition. So this is, again, not your average Vermonter, right? Again, about as cabal as you get, and again, connected all over the world. So we've been watching. JT's a superhero. We broke that one, JT. Me and you, years and years ago, and we've been pounding her ever since. I'm surprised we're still here. Maybe that's
if you guys were to take all of these links and post them below today's interview, you'd be helping people. Of course, with a simple Google search, people could find this stuff, but it's crazy to think that people say this openly, like, quote, futurist Martine Rothblatt sees a day when human and machine become one. And Montreal, it's reasonable to expect that in 50 years, humans will build their own identities the way computers download software, says futurist Martine Goldblatt. By that time, she predicts we will all carry some sort of digital implant inside our bodies. The implant will help us hack our nervous system and control disease, or allow us to speak with a digital concierge inside our brains that will read our emails and help us learn new languages. And it just, this crazy, this talk, I wouldn't want to live in a mind like that, where I would have somebody tapped in digitally to help me learn a new language and plug into that. Even if the synapses are able to merge with silicone, you just you lose all of the charm of being able to study a language and learn it. Why should you?
They did it with a monkey. They've already put, again, the mind of a monkey into a computer. The monkey's dead. The mind is in there, and that's what LifeNaut, for people who want to research this, KNOTT. I think is there one T or two? LifeNaut.
That's NUT, NAUT, like nautical, like astronaut.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, and what that is when you die as a person, you can take all of your memories and put them on a chip, and then they put that chip into, the clone, the computer robotic, like, is it Beta 23? I forgot the name of Martin's wife. And I can't imagine all the men watching this.
Oh,
think your wife would be pissed if you cloned her?
The wife's name
46.
Martine's 48.
Bina.
Yeah, Bina
48. Mine's got 46 and 48 next up.
Bina 48. Well, she's got more than one lover. That seems rude.
Maybe she's Mormon.
BINA 48. BINA 48 meets.
Yeah, you can look it up.
Rothblatt. It's an actual robot, and then she introduces the robot to the living model that she copied, which is her lover or whatever wife.
Yeehaw.
It's just very
kinky.
Yeah.
Well, again, it sounds so insane when you talk about cloning, the idea of cloning.
Right.
And people are like, man, you're a little or not. Martin is the largest pig cloner in the world. Do you think they just clone pigs? Do you think they stopped at Dolly, the sheep? I don't think so.
Martine is a little bit, reminds me of some Hollywood white liberal chick that will adopt a lot of black kids and then just destroy them forever. Kind of like a Madonna or something, adopt a big brood of black boys and just turn them into chicks.
Yeah. They all do. Have you seen Will Smith's son, or again, Charisse Theron? Look what they're doing to their children, parlous. And how are you a transhumanist and still open a church? That always confused me too. Like,
well, her church
is the other.
Her church is transhuman. Her religion, Terra Sem.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the Unitarian?
Human.
She made up a new
Unitarians.
religion,
They just don't. Yeah.
There's a new
Unitarians are
religion that you made up. That's what's the name of that though?
Terasem.
I'm looking it up right now.
Terasem.
Terasem.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, and you know, to defend Martin, I can't even believe I just said that. We kind of all volunteer. We're carrying around our chips and personal identities anytime. And
Yeah.
I said that for a long time. Pretty soon you're going to go to the store and you're just going to go bleep, you know, whatever you're going to bleep, it'll be right. Your net worth will be right here. And like they were talking about, they can control your medicine, they control your body, they can control your body. Think about that. They'll just shut you off, right?
I just got blocked. My just got blocked because I'm searching for that. So I'm blocked from using Google now because I've been searching for that.
Don't be searching for the wrong things. It's funny, like if you I've noticed God. Like if God, you can't, you know, autocorrect won't fix God.
FOD, you know, yeah.
I just had a
It's never
friend that
God.
was gonna get a license plate, you know, personal license plate, God wins. You can't put God on a license plate in Vermont state. Against the law. Can't, nothing about God, can't have it in your schools, can't have it on your money, definitely can't have it in your license plate. This is an agenda, guys.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely insane to think, just like all the things with Martin. If people look into Martine Rothblatt is her name, you're going to
Yeah.
be blown away. Her kid, again, he ran for office, I think down in Florida, House of Representatives. Again, he's a biracial, bisexual, you know, minority, transhumanist. Like that's on your ballot, Florida. Watch out for that dude, right? And then the people
Uh-huh.
they hang with too, the company you keep. I know when I grew up, my mom used to slap my friends just for being with me. And I had a lot of other moms that slapped me for being with their sons and kids too. But the company you keep really, really matters. And I think that's what's being highlighted on the media and on TV. And that's what we're seeing right now. I hope it's just optics.
Well, Martine's been hanging out with a lot of pigs, so
Yeah.
the weird thing was though with rejuvenating lung tissue, like how she wants to take discarded lung tissue and then rejuvenate it so it can be used for some other purpose. I wonder what that's all about. It's like, how do you just take human tissue that's been donated for some specific purpose? Do people who donated their lungs understand what it's going to be and what it's going to be used for? Or let's say it's a fetus in that little jar. When a
Right.
woman has an abortion and they say, oh, my body, my choice, here, take my choice out, is when that choice gets taken out of their body, right?
What
That
happens?
choice ends up, if it ends up in a little jar, being used for pharmaceutical research, being used to develop new medicines or new medical technology, or getting experimented on, don't they get like some right to a residual check for their body,
You think
their choice, getting
royalties?
exploited like that?
Yeah.
If
Well, this
if
is,
you,
it
yeah,
goes deeper. Heck 19, right? It's literally
So
flavoring. They use it on our foods. Everybody, when you're done watching this podcast, go in your kitchen and start looking at all your stuff. When it says natural flavors, they're not kidding. It's natural, right? A lot of that
yeah,
comes from aborted fetus. In fact, Heck 19 that I was talking about, PepsiCo claims to stop using it back in the 90s, if you believe them, but that tells you they were using it. It's been, I believe, stem cells from the aborted fetus of a Caucasian male. It makes things sweeter or saltier. That's in your food, guys. I want you to
and
really
they also
think
had
about
Microsoft also had a contract with them for nanotechnology for Coke and Pepsi.
it. Yeah, terrifying. Weaponized food was one of the scariest words I heard. But I think that's, again, what we watched all the meat processing plants.
In their
You sound
soda,
like you've
whatever
been
you guys
drinking.
want to call it. We call it pop here in Minnesota.
Right. It's funny because you sound like you've been drinking, JT. They slowed you down just enough. We were
Yeah, it
saying
keeps.
too many
Yeah,
keywords. That's why I said Patrick Leahy. Oh my God, we're still here.
Patrick Leahy.
Unbelievable. But what I was saying is I think that's part of what we've been watching. Again, all the meat processing plants that mysteriously caught on fire, or the baby formula shortage. Remember when we went through that? 85% of the world market, the world, comes from China, baby formula, or the wheat, again, from Russia or the Ukraine, right? So I
Yeah.
think a lot of these things that we're seeing, I love rotisserie chickens from your local grocery store or whatever. They used to be like a pterodactyl size. Now they're
Yeah.
now they're back to regular chicken size. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
go to the store and I buy chicken breasts that it weighs 6 pounds. Like they're this big. I'm like, a chicken's not supposed to weigh 6 pounds, guys. That's not normal. We got bendable fruit. I just saw a video. They took a watermelon, half a watermelon,
Yeah.
suck it out in the woods, and nothing would eat it. The animals were like, "No, thank you." I've said the
Yeah.
same. GMO corn. Our deer don't eat that. That's why deer aren't in our cornfields. All you hunters out there wondering, because they are smart enough to stay away from it, unlike us. Terrifying, terrifying.
Yeah.
So what else you got going, Wes? Again, I heard they were kind of like after your job, or they kind of doubled down and they're putting a little more pressure on you. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if I can really talk about that much, but
Okay.
let's give that a pass until
All right.
one thing
Well,
happens or another. But
that'll
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
You're a stronger man than I am too, because a lot of things I'm not supposed to talk about, and I'm like, I have
Well,
to
kids
talk
are
about
on
it even.
for they still got a chance, but
Yeah.
if they mess it up, they're gonna mess it up. So
Well, this is what I like
So,
about you is you are holding them accountable. Like you said, you want receipts. You want to know exactly what happened. You want the police reports, and they counted on us not looking. That's everybody. And
yeah,
West can't do it all. JT,
there's
how many people in Minnesota do you know that West 3 million? It's a lot, right?
maybe four, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a big state population wise,
Well,
but
that's
we've got more than our fair share of trouble, and
well.
lots of
There's
people
more than one
defending.
guy that can help, though. It shouldn't
Well,
all just be on you.
yeah, right. Well, because of this Tim Walz thing now, all of a sudden the whole of the nation and internationally is looking at us too. So it's sort of like everybody is descending here, and we do have DFL operatives in Minnesota now. They're spending because Tim Walz cannot lose his own state.
Right.
He doesn't dare. So they've got all kinds of money flowing in for advertising. Everybody's trying to fundraise right now. There's weirdos setting up all these nonprofits trying to collect money one way or the other. There's a lot of people trying to collect data. They set up a website. Some weirdo moves to Rochester for no reason, sets up a bunch of nonprofits, has these websites, and then says, "Oh, let's have a petition. Everybody sign the petition. Go to this website, sign the petition." Well, it's flypaper, and it's name, address, first name, last name, middle initial, address, email, telephone number, and then you get to sign a petition. But it's like you go through like 9 pages to get to the point of this whole stupid thing, and then of course make a donation, right?
Yeah.
But everybody's playing us right now again, and if you can set up a website and put a PayPal button on it or some other kind of button, you can collect donations if you have an EIN number, and just pump it out on social media. So there's all kinds of people who don't like they're not voters in Olmsted County. They can't vote here, and they're not residents of our town. They don't pay property taxes. They have no reason to be in Rochester, Minnesota, in Olmsted County, and they're descending here, and they're living here, and they're doing politics, and they're running the tables on us.
It's the same in every state. There's no Vermonters in our Vermont Congress. Very few. There's like four, right? The rest are out of staters. Again, they come here. New Jersey, Connecticut, New York are big thing. It's the politician, and the same thing. And you can say it's the same for New York. Maybe our cabal players from Vermont are the ones that are taking over the New York Congress, but it's not us. The same with voting in college. We talked about the college scam before. I went down, I was driving through the center of my hometown, and there was a huge climate rally When I read the banner the next day, it said 300 pissed off Vermonters want climate change and they're down here. Well, when I see that stuff, I pulled over and I went through those 300 people. It took me a couple hours with one question. Is anyone here from Vermont? And I found out there was 4 people that were in that group from Vermont. They were the college professors at Bennington College, and that was their student activism class. So all these out-of-state kids that were at college, they were getting graded, and they went down there and put on a protest, and everybody in Vermont thought it was a bunch of pissed off Vermonters. It's not pissed off Vermonters. We have
Mhm.
college kids in our city council in Burlington. Of course, you can vote you don't even have to be a US citizen here. They're letting them vote. So these are the over the top optics. We just passed, you guys will probably be next. You're real close. Whenever these crazy laws happen in Vermont, other states follow us. But the Vermont Supreme Court just ruled that our schools can vaccinate our children without parental consent. Right? I want people just to think about that. I don't know why your kids are still in those schools. I think it's optics and it's another sign. Get your kids the hell out of those schools, man. From the critical race theory to Gary the transgender dinosaur to now they're injecting them and they don't need your consent. Horrifying.
We tried to push back on that here in Rochester, and I can't understand why the pushback on that from some people. Like when the school board here promoted the most recent referendum to increase our taxes, they went through the trouble of translating their brochures. They translated their brochures into a bunch of different languages. So full color glossy brochures in I think this is Thai. I mean, I'm not sure. And then I think this is one form of Chinese, maybe it's Mandarin. And then this is in English.
Oh my
And
God.
then this is in Spanish. And this is in, I think it's Ethiopian.
Wow.
And there were more, but it's front and back. Each
Yeah.
of these full color, and they did all of that to try to get us to increase the taxes. And at the same time, the superintendent of schools has a top secret curriculum. He has a procedure, a ruling where you can talk to other people's kids about being transgender or having whatever sex dysphoria, and you don't have to tell the parents. It's a 6-page guideline on transgenderism, and that, if they express their gender at school, you're not supposed to tell the mom and dad. So they can line kids up for transacting with the Mayo Clinic again, and this gets back to the board of directors, the Mayo Clinic. You can line people up for having testosterone, give the girls testosterone cream to wipe under their armpits to set them up to have their breasts lopped off at some point in the future with the Mayo Clinic gender affirming. Mayo Clinic has gender affirming transplants and stuff. They can give you a male chest, so they can take off your breasts and turn a girl into a dude. Or you can set up the boys to have their twig and berries cut off, and you don't have to talk to mom and dad about that. And that's going to be paid for by the state of Minnesota. And the guy I'm running against thinks that's a great idea, and he's voted for it. In fact, he thinks the people who wanted to block, like the people that spoke at the state capitol and tried to block having men and women's bathrooms and women and men's bathrooms inside churches, and they didn't want to have the LGB whatever flag inside a church. Those people were called religious extremists and bigots. So we're in a really weird place, and I'm not even the best Christian, but I can see what this is about. But this is just wrong.
I think we can all see it. And again, my hope here is that's over the top optics to get all these sleepers, people who are not guys. We need participants. You can bitch until you're blue in the face on your keyboard. It's not going to change anything. You need to write a letter. You need to make a phone call. Show up at one of these meetings. Run for office. right? Start a news network, a law firm, do stuff, do anything, do something. See something, say something, do something. It's only our everything. Comes back to the children. It's only your children, especially when you're talking education, medical, all these things. It's only our children. Like, man, if we can't protect that part of society, our elderly and our children, we did a great job with our elderly. Those 5 governors that killed how many? How many of our parents, grandparents,
Tim,
veterans died behind a
Tim,
screen, a glass plate? Go ahead, JT.
yeah, Tim Waltz he's getting his comeuppance about that right now too.
They
And
should.
we all knew it. We all knew it. Stick
You
people
guys,
back to
Yeah,
I maybe I'm not hearing so well, but can I give you guys one more
sure.
related to the transgender crap?
Please.
Yeah.
So there's a group called Retain, and it's a federal Retain program. I can flash that, but it's run by the Social Security. Let me cover up my address. It's run by the Social Security Administration, and this Retain program, they contacted me because I had a small, work related injury thing. I'm going to cover up 2 points on this. And they wanted to have me participate in a federal government program study thing where they would help an old fart like me find a new job because I'm too young to retire and go on Social Security. So they want to keep men like me and you in the workforce as long as we can because we actually show up for shit, right? And Jason's going to find out about this too. They won't let you retire, Jason, until you're 70. Not a guy like you. You're probably wondering why you haven't been fired yet, but they're not going to let you go because you can do the work. We can do the work. Minnesota, they're not going to ever let you go.
It's going to be 80 by the time he gets there.
These people wanted me to participate in this coursework whereby I could get another job. And it's out of Princeton, New Jersey. It's the Social Security Administration. So I start participating in this stuff. And every single time I talk to somebody on the fucking phone, every time I go to an office, they ask me for my fucking pronouns and they ask me for my gender, whatever. And I'm looking at myself going, man, when I get out of the shower, I don't even want to see what I am. If I'm not covered in a towel, if I go by the mirror and that towel falls, who's that in my house, right? What the fuck difference does it make what my fucking gender sex stuff is? So I'm going into the office one day. Sorry, all the salty language, but this really pisses me off. I go into the office one day, and here's this Spanish girl working at the counter, and she again, and part of the intake, they just have to ask, and what are your preferred pronouns, and what's your gender? And I just looked at this Spanish chick, and I just said, entonces, ¿qué? Yo hablo español, y hay mujeres y hay hombres. Y no hay ningún otro problema entre los dos sexos. Entiéndeme? And I'm saying to her in Spanish, I didn't do it all emphatic like that.
Right.
But I said to her in Spanish, I didn't do that. I said, can you explain to me what you mean by that? And the Spanish girl started in with this like textbook, blah, 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 blah. Men and women are traditionally men and women, and they can have different perspectives about what sex they think they are, depending on their, and she went off on this whole, like she's reciting this bullshit to me that she memorized in some high school class. And I finally said to her, I said, look, your name is thus and such. And then I started speaking to her in Spanish. And I said to her in Spanish, every noun has a masculine and feminine form in Spanish. Every adjective has a masculine and feminine form in Spanish. English is the least of the Romance languages. It's not a Romance language. It's not even really Germanic. English doesn't participate in masculine and feminine. We don't have a masculine and feminine word for pen. We just say a pen or the pen. We don't say le stylo like they do it. We don't make it a man in French. We don't make it a woman in Spanish. We don't make it why are you telling? And I said this to her in Spanish. I said, your language has a shit ton of these. and she didn't understand me because the little Hispanic girl didn't speak Spanish. But they wanted me, and I thought, well, she's probably got her job. Well, anyway, diversity.
You gotta go to
inclusion,
Walmart. Nobody speaks English. I went
So
to
they kept
Walmart and asked
asking,
for help. They pull out their phone and you have to translate.
and I'm the white dude. I'm a little, Native American Indian, like we said before. I still have to talk to you about that. But they keep wanting, they sent me all these, they're sending me money. They send me money to fill out surveys because they want me to know what my experience was like. And I'm like, and like I said to the girl, if I ever was on a job and I asked someone that question, or I was in a job interview, I would expect to end up in human resources. I would expect to be fired because there's consequences. But these people will talk to other people's children about shit like this. So we are really living in a clown world, dudes. Sorry to go.
Now, the banks are the same way. Again, the last, I don't know how many months I go in and I try to withdraw money and they say, well, what do you do for work? And they keep asking me that. So now I start like, I'm a hitman for the mob. Like, does it matter what I do for work? So, well, we need to know what kind of, I said, I'm in business. Well, what kind of business? It's my business. It's none of your business. It's pretty. And then the last time they actually asked me, what's the money for? What are you going to use the money for? And I was taken back. I wasn't ready. Like, you talk about getting in. I said, weed. I want you to write that down. Weed. I tell them, put all my money in weed. I'm going to buy a bunch of marijuana. I want you to put that down on that IRS bullshit form. It doesn't matter what you do for a living or what you plan on spending your money on. The bank has no right to ask you those questions, at least in my opinion. That's why I take my money out of the bank now. I don't want the bank anymore. That's why my kids, if they were old enough, they wouldn't be in school right now because I don't like school anymore. And the same government that we're all bitching about, I'm running for governor, but it's not going to be that governor. I don't want that governor seat. Corn Pop and Phil Scott and everybody, they can keep that stuff. That system's, I'm not getting on that sinking ship. Are you out of your mind? I'm going to build the new one over here with JT and Wes because I think you guys might be onto something. That's been about an hour. But as always, it was kind of fun. JT, you're one of my favorites still. And Wes, you're becoming a close second because you are a go-getter, man. Take it to them. That's what it takes. Proud of you.
Man.
All right. Now, I'll give you guys 2 more seconds here. If you want to say something in closing, we'll let JT go first. Want to say anything to the audience, JT?
I just want to say, Wes, it's funny that you went and got a FOIA request because I called Chief Franklin this weekend too.
Yeah, they're really not telling us much about and actually one news service has superimposed the Nazi swastika on the side of Kim Hicks' house. They had a shortage of actual Nazis in Rochester and actual anti-Semitism, so they superimposed the image of the swastika. They did some kind of edit fade where they faded from one image to another image, and they put the swastika on the siding. For some reason, the vandals avoided the siding. The vandals went to the broken window that had already been broken or something. I don't know.
That's the
not enough explanation. We don't need to know. Just feel sad for racism. And
well, it's the same old story. It's the same old again. They only have one playbook, and it's the same play, guys. We don't have to fall for it anymore. That's it. So don't fall for it. Stand up for yourselves and each other like these 2 fine gentlemen do. I appreciate your time, guys. Thanks for joining me. Everybody who saw this, please click the Rumble button, especially if you live in Minnesota or Vermont state or any state. This is your state too. Talk about this stuff. That's, again, your most powerful weapon is your voice. So warn each other, love each other, go hug your mother. See ya. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.